grasp and went up in the sky and then delivered a very stern lecture. You rascal. You know, you're doing so many horrible things, you know, that no, you're going to come to a bad end, you know, and like that. And because she is the illusory energy of the Lord, then people worship her under all these different names. Maya, Ambika, Lakshmi, Durga, like that. So just like Krishna's first expansion is Balaram, see, his female expansion on the same level of Krishna is Radha, see, but on the level of Vishnu or Narayan, it's Lakshmi. And on the level of the material world, because this material world is temporary, she temporarily manifests as Durga, the material energy, or Maya, that which is not. You will see an illusion, right? Babaji gestures hypnotically. Yeah. And this whole world is actually an illusion. It's not that it doesn't exist. Certainly, this world has some reality. You know, go bang your head against a wall a few times and you find it. It's really real. But the illusion comes in, not in the existence of the world. I wanted to say this last night, and it slipped my mind. When I was talking about Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, it's not that the unreality of this world is in its existence exactly, although that's part of it. It exists only temporarily. Therefore, the sages say it doesn't have fully real existence. It has conditional existence. But while it exists, it really exists. Okay? The illusion is in our perception of it. That we give this world, or the objects in this world, the attribute of independent existence, just like this glass. It appears to exist independently. You know, it's not attached to anything. It just kind of sits there, lets you do stuff, put stuff in it, and like that. And it's very useful for that. But actually, if we think about this glass, at a certain time it didn't exist. It was just some iron ore in the ground, and then somebody dug it out, smelted it, purified it, made it into stainless steel, rolled it up, made a glass, you know, welded the bottom or whatever, or stamped it, or however they make these things, and polished it, and then somebody else distributed it to some store, and then it, you know, Mother Swati bought it, and it wound up here, and now we were using it. And then in the future, you know, eventually it's going to disappear and be broken down into little pieces again and wind up in some tectonic plate somewhere at the bottom of the ocean or something. You know, the same atoms, but the form is always changing. The atoms exist for the duration of the material universe. They're created at the beginning, and then they're destroyed at the end by the fire of Lord Shiva. But the form is always changing. It may not change on a time scale that we can see, but certainly in the fullness of time, these forms are changing. Well, look at our own forms. Our forms in the beginning are little baby forms, and then they have kid forms, and then we have young rascal forms, and then we have teenager forms, even more rascal, and then adult forms, and then finally the forms get old and they start to break down, and then the form stops working. And then what? Well, we have to go get another one. So we go through these changes of bodily form by the force of time. But Krishna changes his bodily form by his will. Just like when he first appeared, he appeared like a little baby. But then when Vasudeva and Devaki prayed to him, he appeared in a forearm form. and then again change back into a little baby. So Krishna, he doesn't come under the force of time. His form changes by his will. And so when Krishna grows up, he goes through all those stages of babyhood, boyhood, youth, and so on. But then he never grows older than youth. Even though he stayed on this planet for 125 years, he never grew beyond like 16 years old. We can understand, 16 years old, this is the perfection of bodily form. At that age, the youth is perfectly ripe, and then from there, everything is downhill. So Krishna never goes past that age. He doesn't have to. Time is his energy. He's not controlled by time. But time is one of his potencies for manifesting the material world. So then, first 16 years of Krishna's appearance, he lives in Vrindavan. And there's all kinds of wonderful pastimes. You can read those in Krishna book about Krishna, even as a young baby, killing demons and so on. And then, of course, his extra super ecstatic pastimes with the gopis, the cowherd boys, his parents, the other elderly gopis and gopas. And then at some point, he appears to leave Vrindavan. He goes to Mathura and then to Dwarka to help his parents. First thing he does is free his parents from Kamsa. And then he goes to Gurukula and gets lessons from Sandipani Muni. And then he goes to Dwarka, becomes a great king, and then so many battles and so many pastimes. So what's really happening here? Because we read in the Shastra that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So if Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, then why did he appear to go to Dwarka and all those places? Well, that's not exactly Krishna who leaves Vrindavan. That's Vasudev. See? Remember we talked the other day about how there are two functions in Krishna's appearance, when he appears in the middle of Brahma's day. One is to give the Yuga Dharma, and the other is to relish or display his confidential pastimes in Vrindavan. So the Lord does that in his original form, his Govinda form. And then, when it comes time for the other pastimes, he enters within the hearts of the residents of Vrindavan. His Govinda form becomes unmanifest and enters within their hearts. And then his Vasudev form leaves Vrindavan and goes to all these other places. This is the mystery of Lord Jagannath. Mystery of Lord Jagannath is that Krishna is there in Dwarka and he misses Vrindavan. He always wants to go back to Vrindavan. He's always thinking about Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan are never out of his mind. He's always thinking of them. Even when he's with his queens and the great kings of the Yadu dynasty and so on, he's never really fully into it. He's in Vrindavan. That's where his heart is. Oh, there's a really wonderful pastime about that. There's a scripture called Bṛhad-Bhāgavatamṛta. In Bṛhad-Bhāgavatamṛta, there's this young cowherd boy named Gopakumar. Gopakumar is from Govardhan. Very nice part of Vrindavan. So Gopakumar meets Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya initiates him with love of God. So he has this ecstatic love of God. And every time he chants his mantra, he goes to a higher place. So first he chants his mantra, and then he goes to Mathura, and he sees this beautiful temple. And then he goes in the temple, and he sees Lord Govinda in his deity form. He becomes overwhelmed with ecstatic love. And because of this, the king of Mathura hears about this great devotee that has come and sends for him. And then they become very good friends because the king is also a great devotee. And the king says, actually, I'm tired of being king. I want to take sannyas, so you please become king. So Gopakumar becomes king of Mathura. And then after some time, he becomes very tired of this, all these state affairs and all this politics. So he chants his mantra again for a while. And then he leaves. He chants the Gopal mantra, that's his mantra. And then he leaves Mathura and he goes to Jagannath Puri. And he sees the wonderful form of the Lord in Jagannath. And so then the king of Jagannath Puri, I think he dies or something like this.